Okay, so a simple description of the problem that anyone can understand. Okay, avoiding too many technical terms, acronyms, so that it can precisely communicate. All right, so how many of you, okay, I'm going to share, I'm going to make this very interesting, okay, and we are going to have a lot of discussions today. Okay, how many of you have heard about elevator pitch? All of you type EP in the chat box. All of you type EP in the chat box. Elevator pitch. Now, chat is opened. EP is elevator pitch. Okay. Okay. Now, I want you to type. If you know about it, type KNOW. If you don't know, type NO in the chat box. How many of you know about this elevator pitch? Okay. Many of you don't know. Some of you know. Okay. Many of you don't know. Okay. Now, this is something that is not taught in Six Sigma, but I feel this is very, very important to learn. Okay, let me tell you, this elevator pitch is not come from Six Sigma, but it's something that you can use for anything. Okay, if you want to communicate or precisely and win the confidence or the consent of your boss or anybody who is a decision maker. Okay, assume that you're going into the elevator, okay, and your boss is there or a decision maker is there. Okay, and immediately you're jumping into the elevator and starts discussing about some idea or some objective, some problem which you want to do. Okay, and then before the elevator reaches that particular floor, let's say that you have, he's reaching the 4th floor in this case. Okay, before it reaches that floor, you are able to communicate the point so that you're getting his consent and this thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how many of you are clear what I said? Type 9 or 10 if you're super clear. PK Gupta says super clear. Good. The point here is, within a short span of time, let's say a few seconds, 30 seconds, let's say, within 30 seconds, you are able to communicate something which is important, okay, and win his consent, okay. That should be the clarity in which you should approach a problem. Okay, that should be your problem statement. Okay, how many of you found this interesting? This concept interesting? Type interesting in the chat box if you found this interesting. Very interesting? Oh, fantastic. Good. If it is very interesting, you can type VII or VVII. Right. Okay. Thank you. Good. Thank you very much. And sorry that I had to pause every time because I love to take it to the next session. Okay. So elevator pitch. Sorry. Please note down these important steps. Okay. First, introduce yourself. Explain what you do. Identify whom you serve. State what makes you different. Include an exciting hook. I'll talk to you what is a hook. Okay, and create a cohesive pitch. Okay, these are some pointers. I will talk how this elevator pitch in the context of Six Sigma is either a problem statement or an objective statement. Okay, now a Six Sigma improvement project usually begins with a formal project statement. Okay, all of you type PS in the chat box. You can call it as a problem statement or a project statement. A problem statement or a project statement. Okay, fantastic. Okay, next. 30-second elevator pitch. So a good problem statement is like you're able to communicate within 30 seconds. That either executive or salespeople use, which generally executive or salespeople use to create interest in clients or investors. Okay, so similarly, you need to make the pitch in just 30 seconds. That shows how much of clarity you should have when you're communicating. Okay, this statement should give enough information for a busy executive to understand the issue and see why it is needed. Okay, if this is clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box. And this is the starting point of any Six Sigma projects. You must be able to state the project objective or project statement or a problem statement very clearly. Okay, we'll get into the components of it. There are different components of elevator pitch. I'll share you whatever resonates with you, you can write. Okay, there is no one formal methodology in this. Okay, the first is this is a general elevator pitch. I'm not talking about Six Sigma. Okay, and I'll share this from where I'm taking this content. I'll share this complete training manual by the end of the session. Okay, if you stay till the end, I will share with you this complete training manual, which is about 400 pages. Okay, that's a gift to me for those who came here for the first time. And I'll also, tell you how you can access my videos and also where you can access my presentations. Like, for example, start by introducing yourself. Hi, my name is Sarah. It's so nice to meet you. Then provide a summary of what you do. This is one format of, this is not the only format. This is one of the formats of the elevator pitch. I'm the PR manager specializing in overseeing a successful initiative launching from beginning to end, and you explain what you do. Okay, I find the work your PR team does to be innovating and refreshing. I would love the opportunity to put in my expertise into the work for your company. Okay, and finish with call to action. Okay, would you mind if I set up a quick call next week for us to talk about any upcoming opportunities on your team? So this is to pitch oneself inside the elevator within 30 seconds. Okay, this isn't okay. If this was useful, type useful in the chat box. Just one format of it. Okay, just because I'm starting with simple format, and I'll go with the format what is required for Six Sigma. Okay? Because this pitch, elevator pitch, is here in this case is a personal PR person, okay, who is pitching herself, right? Great. Salespeople pitch, make an elevator pitch. Okay, marketing people make an elevator pitch. So similarly, a Six Sigma improvement manager should also make a pitch to the management, to the sponsor. We call it as a sponsor. Okay, I will decode the components of elevator's pitch when you're going to a venture capitalist. Okay, when you're going to talk about your software. Okay, because people ask from different examples. The last example was a very generic example of an individual like a PR manager. Okay, how many of you people are from IT here? Type IT in the chat box. If you're from IT industry or IT industry. Okay, Anjaneya is from IT, Bridish. Okay, Solomon is from IT. Wow, so many people from IT, ITS. And this is also one of the format of the elevator pitch. Okay, there are many formats. You can choose any format, but the point here is you should get a buy-in within 30 seconds. Okay, see, for example, in this, it starts with a hook. Okay, hey, I'm Justin. I'm Justin. I represent FinTech Solutions Inc. and we have a game-changing software. Look at that pitch. We have a game-changing software, and that is tailored for banking systems to secure their data and streamline their operations. So first is a hook, then value. Okay, to secure the data and streamline the operations, our solution leverages on AI-driven algorithms to provide real-time fraud detections and seamless mobile banking interface. So hook is over, the value is over, then it comes to evidence. We have partnered with so-and-so bank 10 months ago, resulting in 20% increase in online account opening and 15% reduction in fraudulent transactions since the time that we have partnered with them. And then you tell the differentiator. And the best part, we never use the same parameter and configuration twice. Okay? We tailor our software to each client needs, and results ends up being entirely unique. And finally, call to action. I'd love to discuss with you how a software can customize to fit your bank's unique and needs and goals. How is this elevator pitch? If you find it's awesome, type awesome in the chat box. These are some components of the elevator pitch if you're having software. So I have decoded that into 5 things: hook, value, evidence, differentiator, and call to action. Okay, so these are some ways in which you can do that. Super awesome. Oh, I like that. Super awesome. Okay, thank you very much. So far, if you found this session interesting, valuable, useful, fantastic, awesome, just put it in the chat box. I will draw inspiration from your chat box and proceed further with this awesome session. Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. Eye opener. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting comment. It was, he says, somebody says it's eye opener. Okay, fine. Right. So those of you who have come a little late, I invite you to this upcoming webinar where I'm going to talk to you about how you can come to our inner circle, get an international certification, and do the entire course in 50 days. Okay, just quickly register for this so that I'll see you in the upcoming webinar. Okay, creating a problem statement. Okay, now when you want to create a problem statement, the problem statement should include where and when the problem was noticed or happening, and also how big the problem is. A measurement of how big the problem is ideally linked to the cost. Okay, and then anyone should be able to understand the problem statement, a simple description of the problem that anyone can understand. So there should not be too many technical jargons or acronyms so that they are overwhelmed by this. Okay, and a brief mention of the metric used. How do you measure the problem? How do you see the trends, etc., etc. So this is about the. Okay, now I'll share with you the example of a strong problem statement. Let us take California Distribution Center. How many of you are from US? Type US or USA in the chat box. Let's see how many of you are from that part of the world. Okay, now let's say example of strong problem statement. In the first quarter, California Distribution Center shipped 108,000 packages, okay, with 15,000 being returned. Okay, so 15,000 out of 108,000, what percentage is that? 15,000, quickly do the math. 15,000 out of 108,000 packages returned. How much percentage is that? Okay, 13.8. The answer is given here, resulting in 13.8 percentage the return rate. Okay, here itself I've given here. Okay, now the target ideally what is acceptable is only 7%. Against 7%, there is 13.8% return rate. Okay, so this is costing the organization about $372,000 in the quarter. Okay, so if this trend continues, it's a disaster. Okay, this could lead to over 1.4 million in additional cost annually. Okay, so if this case is clear, whatever I've written is clear, type SC super clear in the chat box. I'll go with the problem statement next. Okay, good. Okay, if this is clear, then let me go with the problem statement. Okay, so the problem statement includes essential information such as when. If you ask when, then it says during the first quarter of this year, if you see the left side. Okay, where it is a California distribution center. What is being talked about? The returns, the customer returns, right, which has problems. And how many of them? 15,000, which is 6.8% more than the expectation. That is 7 is what is allowed, but you have 13.8. What's the magnitude? The potential annual cost will be more than 1.4 million. Okay, I mean, if you found all these questions answered and it looks awesome, just type awesome in the chat box. This is the essential components that it should have. I have decoded a problem statement which should have. I will also tell a strong problem statement, a weak problem statement, what most of us do. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go further. Okay. So the statement does not discuss solutions or any other excessive details. Okay. And it is strong because it answers only key questions and highlights the significant financial impact. Please understand, the language of leaders is money. Okay, the language of leaders is money. All of you type money in the chat box. Money is the language of leaders. Okay, so you should always express everything, mostly wherever possible, try to convert into money and then express it. Okay, Only then in an elevator pitch that you will get a buy-in. Okay, fine. Now I'll tell you a weak problem statement. Okay, weak problem. There's a bakery in Canton, Ohio, in making undercooked bread, okay, causing customer complaints, returns, and bad reviews. Somebody is telling this. Okay, the bread should be baked at 350 degrees for 40 minutes. Is it a strong statement or a weak statement? Is it a strong statement or a weak statement? Lousy statement. When I'm reviewing projects, I really fire people. Okay, I would just throw it. I said, come back with a proper statement. Okay, lousy statement. Okay, so this is the two components that we see here. A better way to frame that is, okay, in November and December 2014, the customer complaint linked to bread baked in Canton, Ohio facility surged it. Out of 300,000 loaves produced, 50,000 were reported as undercooked. Okay, this is a better way to represent that. How many of you agree? This is a little better way to do that. The resulting returns and lost sales due to poor quality are estimated to cost about $125 this year. Okay. Okay, this is simple. This doesn't need much explanation. So I move forward. So writing your own problem statements. How do you write your own problem statements? Okay, let's see. Important. When you first start writing the problem statement, it can be harder, okay, than expected. Because all the information have to fit in a few sentences. But I would give you a checklist, a framework in which you can do that. Okay. Imagine yourself like a journalist reporting. Okay. Because journalists actually have a checklist. All right. Now, you should start thinking like a journalist. Okay. Because journalists generally aims to answer the following questions. Okay. What happened? Who did it happen? Who did it happen to? Okay, when did that happen? Why should the audience care? Okay, okay. So this is what the journalist generally ask a question. So you should. I'm just giving you an analogy of a journalist and start thinking like a journalist. Okay. Now writing your own problem statements. Okay. In the problem statement, okay, before I read the bottom one, I wanted to say, use the same approach when writing the problem statement like a journalist, like the checklist. Where did the problem happen? When did the problem happen? What process did the problem involve? And how the problem is measured? Okay. And how much is the problem in terms of money, time, customer satisfaction, everything. Okay. So you should ask yourself first, could someone else answer all these questions in the checklist from your problem statement alone? And before you present to the boss, test it out with a co-worker or someone who is familiar. Okay. So simple, where, when, what, how much. Okay. If you feel it's simple, just type simple in the chat box. I want all of you to type simple. It's not complicated. Okay. If you have a framework. Okay. If it's pretty simple, type PS in the chat box. Simple and strong. I like Timson's font. Simple and strong. Good. Superb. So I'll give you two problem statements, okay, quickly, and see if you can answer all the questions in the checklist using the information given. Okay. Where did it happen? When did it happen? What, how much? Okay. Now, look at this problem statement. The call center in Florida. The call center in Florida handled 36,000. This I'm giving a BPO example, okay? 36,000 calls in February 2015. Of these 36,000 calls, 8,000 had an average speed of answer. Okay, the time it taken, they say different metrics I used. Here they use average speed of answer. Okay, over the contract requirement of 15 seconds. Okay, they took longer time to explain the situation. So those 8,000 service level agreement violations, SLA we call it as, right? Those service level agreements violation resulted in the cost of $200,000. Okay, is it a good problem statement? Strong or weak problem statement? Just type strong or weak. Let's see. Strong, right? Because it answers the question where the problem happened, when the problem happened, what process did the problem involve, how the problem was measured, and how much it was costing. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, I'm giving you a second problem statement. Okay, I'm giving you a second problem statement, which just says the call center in Ohio has service level agreement issue that is costing $9,000 per day. Is it strong or weak? Obvious answer, right? Instead of quiz answers, quiz questions, I'm asking questions this way. Okay, I'm giving you the case and asking. It's a weak. Okay, right. Okay, now I will decode this. Okay, you have this strong problem statement, and it answers all the questions in the checklist. Okay, where did the problem happen? Florida. Okay, when did the problem happen? February 2015. What process did the problem involve? Answering phone calls. How the problem was measured? Average speed of answer. And how much is the problem costing? Okay, it's $200,000 per month. Okay. Okay, now for people who feel writing a problem statement is difficult, is it simple or complicated? Writing a problem statement, is it simple or complicated? All of you type simple in the chat box. Don't type simply complicated, okay? Okay, now, suppose if you take this problem statement 2, of course, this is lousy problem, it does not answer the question. Where did the problem happen? Ohio. Okay, I understand. But when did the problem happen? I don't know. What process did the problem involve? I don't know. How is the problem measured? I don't know. How much is the problem costing? Maybe this is answer. So it doesn't answer completely. It doesn't answer completely. So this is a weak problem statement. Okay. So problem statement 2 would benefit from so you need to add a place, a specific references, process the same. Okay. So in our community, please do not make any mistake in writing a clear problem statement. Okay. Now, problem statement leads to objective or goals. Suppose if you take this problem, another way to tell that you have a problem statement is that you can create overall project objective. Okay, directly from the problem statement. Example, I'll tell you. Okay, in this problem statement 1, the goal is to reduce answer speed, that is SLA violations, in Florida, this place, by 50% within 3 months. Potential savings to the company is 100,000 per month. This is an objective. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. So problem statement 8 might create an objective. Okay, another way to tell that you have a strong problem statement is that you can create an overall project objective statement or goal directly from the problem statement. Right. Suppose if you have this problem statement 2, the team working with the problem statement 2 would not be able to create a goal statement with such a detail. Okay, so this would simply be able to say that they hope to reduce the service level agreements. It is just a hope. So that's the importance of problem statement. Right. Okay, why is it so important? Suppose if you say that the goal 50% reduction within 3 months, the specific problem and objective are critical to Six Sigma project for several reasons. Number 1, being as specific as possible, okay, sets up appropriate expectations. For example, in the first example, the leadership set an expectation to reduce the average speed of answer, and the success reduction is 50%. And the scope is very clear. Okay, nobody's expected to solve any other problem like customer satisfaction, etc. the scope is very clear. So once you state the problem statement objectives, so what is in scope, what is out scope, it should be very, very clear. All of you type in scope and out scope in the chat box. In scope and out scope in the chat box. Scope, okay, in scope and out scope. Fantastic. So there are some questions that you can answer here. Okay, thank you very much for answering. There are some questions. What are the SLA violations the team is addressing? What exactly success do like? Is the team expected to cost, etc., etc.? So when you have a weak problem statement, you should ask this. Somebody typed 5W1H questions so that you get the complete information so that your objective statement can be super clear. Okay. So problem statement, summarizing the problem statement. Okay, I want 5 more minutes of your permission to talk about scope and scope creep. All of you type PG, permission granted, in the chat box. Great, thank you. So after that, I will be sharing with you the training manual from where I'm sharing all this, okay? So creating the problem statement, by that you're laying a very stable foundation for your project. Very, very important. Please write down in your notebook, stable foundation. And then the team gets clarity and they don't get overwhelmed by so much of information, okay? And it reduces a chance of scope creep. So in the same context, I wanted to quickly tell you what is a scope creep. Sometimes in scope creep is a word that is taken out from project management, okay? If you want your quality of the project to be successful, there are triple constraints, okay? All of you type SCT in the chat box. SCT, okay, or TCS, okay? You can also type TCS, whichever that resonates with you well, okay? TCS, all right. So the scope is very important. One affects the other. If you increase the scope, the time and cost gets affected. If you reduce the cost, the scope will get reduced, okay? And if you reduce the time, the scope will get reduced, okay? So one will affect the other. How many of you agree with this? Type agree or super agree, okay? So it is very important that you avoid scope creep, okay? What is scope creep? See, for example, even if you're building houses, okay, you will tell the engineer that you want this type of room, this type of flooring, and etc. But as he starts building, your wife will tell all the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Your friends, your wife, okay, the people who are going to occupy, your mother-in-law or mother or whoever it is, all will tell their own specification. The scope will start changing. How many of you can relate to what I'm saying? Type ICR in the chat box if you can relate to what I'm saying. Similarly, in the project also, if you are able to relate to this, okay, yeah, particularly in software project, the first they'll say that this is the software I need. After that, they'll keep on adding features, and they want it in a shorter time. Right? Okay, let me quickly get into what is scope creep. Okay, scope creep is something like this, like octopus has got different hands and it keeps on, hey, I need to add this feature, I need at this cost yard, this is the, I don't think this will cost much, we need another 1 week, etc., etc. Okay, you keep on adding features one after the other, okay? Then what is originally agreed to that, then what happens? As and when your specifications, effort, and resources increases, the time and cost will rise. How many of you agree with this? If you agree, type agree. If you type super agree, you can type super agree, okay? Which means that the more and more scope creep happens in terms of changing your specification, then the effort increases, the research increases, changes, okay? You put heavy on this side, then the cost and time increases. Great. Okay, fine. Going forward, the key reason for scope creep is this. If you don't define the project scope clearly, which is in scope and out scope, you should have the project boundaries really clear. Okay. The second is, if you don't manage the project properly, whether it is a construction project or whether it is a Six Sigma project, the projects must be managed properly. Okay. So there are some best practices. Okay. And then communication should be very, very clear amongst the stakeholders. In Six Sigma, the stakeholders will be, the team members, the sponsors, the customers, the suppliers, and all that will be. So the communication should be very, very clear right from the beginning. Okay. And then the managing, if there is an inconsistency in managing the changes in the project scope, there is always inconsistency in managing the changes. Okay. And finally, everything will lead to the, so the project scope, if there is an inconsistency in managing the changes, then that will also lead to the project scope. I've given some 4 key reasons. There could be other reasons also. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box.